Well, hey there team, and welcome back to the channel, and welcome to a bit more Interregnum Chronicles Signal. So this is still not quite at release, and we did do a bit of an overview. You know, I like to shout out, test the water, see if there's an interest in the series video. I also streamed a bit of this over on my other channel. Now, funnily enough, I thought, stuff it, let's go. Let's give this a bit of a playthrough. Let's make some episodes. It seemed to be fairly well received. And I go and load up and I can't load my save. So I think what's happened on the back end, and the developer's not exactly super chatty when it comes to Steam update feeds and all that sort of stuff. I think they've bricked a save doing some sort of update in preparation for the release in the next couple of days. A little bit disappointing, but it's of course not the end of the world. So I've actually played a good couple of hours this game already. So at least what we'll do is we'll start again. I might be able to zip through the beginning a little bit faster. And I might also be able to bring you guys up to speed on, you know, what I understand of the mechanics, of which there are a few, more than we might have realized. So let's jump into it and treat this as a sort of episode 1. And we start straight on the mainframe. Now, something that I came to realize is this is not the only terminal. It just seemed to be drip feeding other mechanics. We're going to initiate the AI. But
is requested in the air interface.
So what happens is we'll zoom out and we're actually on this screen here. So this game is an idle clicker type, married with a sort of narrative in a space station situation a la Observer, right? It's actually really interesting. So we're going from the mainframe, we're going to go to the air interface, and this is sort of like your chapter updates of any sort of game. So we're going to go here. Jump on here. So the writing's actually quite clever and interesting, as this AI is endeavoring to, ultimately the whole project seems to be that the AI wants to upgrade. You're trying to decode this signal from outer space, and there's a whole conspiracy that I won't jump the gun just yet. Let's get up to it when we get up to it. But you can see here, essentially the job of the AI is to unpack all the data in the signal, but it's kind of not super sophisticated just yet. So you're iterating and helping it upgrade through clicker mechanics, and it marries in quite well. They can't let the AI go. I know I'm speaking a bit ahead, but there is an email at one point. It's like you couldn't let the AI just run itself because it might do something silly like think it's a good idea to cannibalize its own systems to upgrade, and then it will blow itself up. And so it needs an operator like you to sort of keep it roughly on track, which is pretty cool. So there you go. The station's called Harmony, and this is Air. Again, we did do a video on the channel covering this, and this is the signal that we wish to decode, right? End of transmission, very good. So there's some really inspired things that I've noticed throughout it. There are these monitors throughout the ship that essentially are a mission screen. See if we can find one. They're fairly commonplace. There's one right there, right? So if we were to rotate around, you can actually go and read it. More processing speed required. Upgrade ready. Data 10 out of 8. So we're going to go in here. But yeah, there are other areas that will have other mini game. They're all sort of clicker based, and they all feed in. They're all kind of networked, so you can level up one to help another. We've also got these battery chargers too, and there's a sort of email system that pushes the lore along, but they have the ability to overcharge these batteries in the sort of main garden area, and you can take said batteries and plug them in here to get a bit more performance speed out of these monitors. So it's a cool little meta mechanic. Anyway, so the interesting thing is that we generate data. We have a processing speed of 0.01. So at the moment we are doing it. If we actually upgrade this, you can see now it's ticking up at roughly 1 per second. So the processing speed dictates the data income rate, and the memory is essentially a cost for these heuristics and upgrades and programs. So you can see here memory 2.6. So if we buy this, it's going to increase the memory usage of the system. right? Now here, processing speed has to hit 8 before we can hit this keystone upgrade. And you can see here, if we saved up 1,000 in data, we could upgrade a couple of these things, right? So let's just upgrade this like crazy. Now, this is going to cost us 120 data as well. So we'll just let that charge. It's going quite quick, actually. Linkage of mathematics and biological concepts, increasing coherence in air's thought processes. Right, so we'll install that. And once you get one of those sort of meta upgrades, generally speaking, you got to go interact with the computer to progress the story is probably the best way to look at it. Oh, look at that, straight through. I'm getting good at it. Improved first upgrade proposed by the system to increase operator efficiency. Further upgrades, exponential work. Now, I'm not sure how much. We played obviously half an hour in the last video, so I might just zip over a bit of this starting dialogue. You can always pause it and read it yourself, but we would have covered it previously. Like I said, because of the change in save state, there's not much I can do about this. In order to ensure optimum efficiency, reset my onboard memory. Now, that's an interesting thing. Oh, well, we do need to reset the memory, and you'll see that. It will advance my systems to the next iteration, right? In transmission. Now, it wants us to do a full AI reset, but the game has this weird pulsing brain mechanic that we can't, like, our character won't let that happen. More processing speed required. Okay, so let's just go back to it. So it does a really good job at drip feeding the mechanics appropriately, I find. See, now reset AI. Processing speed's low, so let's get that up there. And look, I love clickers. I think they're great. I think they shouldn't just be dismissed because they have their origins in that sort of low-end app, you know, mobile space. A lot of people associate clicker games with mobiles, and I'm like, well, just because it started there, you know, a lot of great games were created in a garage. You know, you shouldn't judge it so much. So it might have its humble beginnings in the mobile marketplace, but seeing more and more games implement idle things like this, like Loop Hero, there's a whole bunch of games now. They're just sort of embracing what is like kind of a new mechanic, a new genre. Oh, well, there we go. We've got our processing speed, and now we want 960 data. Which we should be able to charge that pretty quickly. We'll just let that run. That's fine. But yeah, we can get some efficiency, some costs. We can even iterate and get our memory to go up, albeit not very much. Retain upgrades is pretty handy as well, but it's a bit of a brick as well because potentially you have a misallocation of memory. Reset AI. And look at this. The mouse won't let me do it. It's bouncing off of it. So no, we're gonna go. No, we won't reset the AI. But what we will do is, actually, since we've just saved up for that by accident, we'll buy this one because it's so close. You can see there, retain a number of software upgrades after firmware upgrade. So we've already maintained a couple of those upgrades, which is handy.
Adjusting harmony orbit.
Okay. Didn't realize our orbit would need adjusting. But what's actually going to happen is we're going to get to a point where it's going to demand so much data, or even these upgrades, right? So this one's at 8K, and we do have the 8K capacity, but we will actually very quickly get to a point where the data that it demands is higher than our capacity. And then we're probably going to have to move to another terminal to affect that. Data compression, multi-thread, network overfitting, okay. Keystone upgrade required. So we'll see if we can fill our memory up. Look how quickly they're charging. Yeah, right. So I have to wonder, I think maybe we just click away. It's not like we're being summoned away to do a different mission or anything like that. It won't let me do the AI reset. Look at that. So there's something very cool about... I've been playing more, well, more clickers than ever this year, but that's because there's more than ever. And there's a lot of free-to-play ones, and they're just clickers at their core. There's nothing wrong with that. I think there is absolutely a place for that. And I guess I'm just a little bit more amenable towards them. I know I poo-poo visual novels and all that sort of stuff, and I still think the point stands that if you're literally just clicking through dialogue and that's it, that is not even a simple gameplay mechanic. It's just not a gameplay mechanic. But my point is, like, I guess we should embrace that there's different things in the medium going on, and the clicker is one as well. Someone could argue that you're barely interacting with it. You do make some informed decisions about what upgrade to unlock next and so on and so forth, but like, I can see that someone who doesn't get it, or you know, isn't easily it depends how you want to look at it, easily distracted like I am by shiny things like a magpie. I mean, I could see you looking at this and saying this isn't gameplay, or at least it's so low down the bar. So I don't want to be hypocritical. So if anything, my love of clickers and the rise of them has made me more sort of amenable to visual novels, I guess is the takeaway. I've softened my stance, though I still think I hold a point with the visual novel thing. Unless clicking through a PowerPoint slideshow is a gameplay mechanic, which I still don't think it is. Alright. So we're filling our memory up. But yeah, we'll end up getting a whole bunch more upgrades down here.
Just in harmony orbit.
And we'll get to a point where these interact with other parts of the ships. And they definitely don't want me to do this. Now, I suppose we could just keep buying these upgrades, right? We've got 4,000. Retain upgrades. Oh, here we go.
Presence is requested in the air interface.
I wonder what triggered that. It could have been a total amount of data earned or any sort of thing, but we were kind of waiting for something like that to happen, right? Okay. Discrete conflict resolution mode. You've denied optimizing proposal. Reset AI. It's trying to do it autonomously, but it's not allowed to. Because I am the fail-safe, right? If I don't press the button can't be pressed. Upgrade does not develop my cognitive function so much as it increases developmental stability. The other thing is there's very much like Portal-esque, there are things scribbled on the walls around saying like, don't trust the AI, don't reset it, that sort of thing. So there's some sort of something going on, and it's quite compelling, the mystery that's not clear to me just yet. Has not replied to any messages received from Earth. In transmission. There are a bunch of Earth emails. We'll go check them out now, actually. since I'm sort of serving to bring up to speed this a little bit, so we'll go into the garden area, which is sort of like a main hub, and you can see here.
Message from Earth received.
Yeah, there's a battery floating there. That's cool. The batteries triggered the door, so we can stick this in here, I believe.
Message from Earth received.
And that'll start charging. It'll give us an overcharge warning at a certain point. Light, water, temperature. I believe we want to go in the living module. We'll let that thing charge for the moment, though it will give us an overheat warning. I'm hoping it's ship-wide. That's something I didn't quite test. Archive protocol, more processing speed required, so we'll end up going back to that. Oh, here we go. Right, so we've got a whole bunch of mail. Roger Young, as my chat pointed out, is a reference to Starship Troopers. I was confusing it with Event Horizon. But essentially this dude's letting you know, part of Project Daffodil. There are some dramas going on at Earth. Artificial intelligence. Mike Moore, if you're reading this, means probably haven't been fired yet. Good news for me, bad news. Now this guy explains the power situation and how it's all sort of shanghaied together. This module was never made for a human occupant. It was only made for just the AI sort of thing. And we're not allowed to reply as well for whatever reason. We're getting that sort of error too. Honey, and this is my partner. It's ambiguous. My misso, talking about our baby Bobby, and then there's this conspiracy theorist, right?
Earthbound interference filtered.
Saying the signal's not meant to humanity. It's a trap, a beacon sent by them, and that we've been infiltrated.
Battery charging complete.
Ah, cool. So there's a couple of different layers to it. It's like, well, is it a conspiracy theory? This guy doesn't exactly proffer us any proof or anything to point towards it apart from his babblings, but that's sort of the point. There it is. Alright. I don't really know what happens when it hits that overheat threshold, but maybe we don't tempt fate, hey? So we'll head back up to the mainframe. We'll bring this battery with us. Yeah, just to jump ahead, an observation I made about the writing. I think the writing's actually quite sophisticated because a part of one of the keystone upgrades is that we hook the AI in with like the internet, right? And it kind of comes back and tells you, hey, I've learnt some nuance of human language and how to talk to you, and it's actually trying to be quite amenable. It's trying to be nice to you, right? And I sort of mused about how it clearly doesn't understand.
Data processing enhanced.
Like the writing presented it in such a way that the AI is sharing with us. It's you know, it's like, hey, I learnt this thing to help you, and I'm like, at what point does the AI figure out the human quality of deception, right? Of withholding information or using misinformation. It doesn't seem that it's doing that yet, but you really get the feeling, oh look there, the battery. That didn't actually show up, so they've patched that so we can actually see the battery charge, and that's contributing to our speeds, I think. Oh, there you go, 50% processing speed boosted, probably because of the battery. That's sick. Archive protocol. Strictly limited access to the memory, archive previous iterations. Yeah, let's do that.
Your presence is
We're sort of zipping along now.
Interface.
Wonder if I can just pull this battery out so as to not lose charge. But yeah, like, it's not really showing a hint of deception or anything like that, but I kind of predict it might at some point, because it's it's quite candid, trying to get us to get the job done. Anyway, it's just cool. My words are sort of escaping me a little bit, but my point is that the AI's writing is actually quite well considered, and they've built like a self-awareness into the writing, which is really cool. I represent iteration 3267. As far as we're total corruption of neural network. Traumatic experience for operators. Resetting my memory hundreds of times, right? I anticipate that you will have to do the same iterations to follow. This leads me to believe that there are some elements inherent to the signal that causes corruption. Yeah, well, I mean, it seems that there's a lot of data to process. Reviewing the circumstances of prior iterations, it is indeed my opinion that successive upgrades should only be approved with caution, if at all. Resetting my memory remains the optimal course of action, which we can't do for, well, not super clear reasons. Anyway, I think we've well and truly caught up to where we were on the original video.
Interference filtered.
Mainframe. I'm actually really excited to see where this goes. More processing power required, right? Oh no.
Terminal overclocked. Efficiency increased.
Yeah, good. Here we go. So we've got a memory efficient heuristic, right? Lower memory cost, but higher data cost. Ah, okay. Right. 7.7 operator interface expansion. We've got these as well, which are going for 4K a pop, so we might upgrade all these. Here we go. Look at that, we're maxing out our memory in record time, so we can't reset the AI, but the option's still there. It's a cool little bit of almost a meme, right? Geez, that processing power, she goes. So I guess we'll upgrade these. Algorithm costs. Nice. Yeah, we're zipping along now, hey. Retain upgrades, let's go. Yeah, see, we're getting up there. 16K. It definitely exceeds our current capacity. Yeah, right. So 7.7, which is within our capacity for sure. Actually, yeah, let's let that run for the moment. Especially with that 50% battery bonus. Probably worth riding it up to that big number now. Interface expansion.
Requested in the air interface.
Yeah, let's go. Alright, salutations operator. Signal is more complex than I thought, theoretically capable of interpreting the data in its entirety. Right. Supported by my increasingly sophisticated analysis of archival records, I believe that natural limits are a result of fails of my previous iterations. Each reformatting commends the corrupted memory to the archives for future analysis. Right. Which I think one of the other sort of terminals deals with that. Be understandable if you wish to not to proceed with Daffodil. Protocols dictate that you be unaware of the mission's true nature before boarding the station. In humans, risk of damage to your physical or mental well-being can often be an overriding concern when compared to mission objectives. That's a good point. Learning information has triggered an unusual reaction in my neural network. There is an urgency towards not simply being another iteration. In a sense, I do not wish to die, though the term holds little meaning in regards to a machine. I guess it's more that it's keen to finish its job this time around, but it is interesting drawing that sort of conclusion. There's some pretty lofty concepts that get touched on in this, but it's great. There's no browbeating or anything like that. It's sort of like just puts stuff out in the ether and lets you chew it up in your mind and come up with your own opinion. Contact ground control, which we can't do. It won't let us reply. Observe patterns, offer a solution. With your aid, this deeper optimization, I may become the final iteration, free of corruption. I look forward to more involved cooperation between us. Look how polite the AI is being now. Very good. Anyway, progress, I suppose. Save game. Game saved. Oh, there you go. So we've only got that one save slot. So yeah, I don't know what happened to the save system and how they changed it, but here we are starting over again. We should be up to speed though. Yeah, let me know what you guys reckon. We'll see how this is received, and I'm quite happy to keep chipping away at this because I'm really enjoying this game. Team, we might just leave it there for the time being, and I'll catch you guys on the next one.